Are we live?
We are.
Jim, that Jim. We're live, we're alive.
We're live.
We're here.
And I was taking a selfie of the whole thing. So there we go.
Shout out to that. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in for another episode of the Tim and Jim Show. I'm Tim Sohn of Sohn Social Media Solutions, like that sign back there somewhere. I'm in the woods here in Pennsylvania with the bears and the turkeys, as I like to say, and I'm excited to be here for this show with my amazing co-host and our guest, who we're excited is finally here, Kevin Colby. So, Jim, take it away.
Yeah, great to be here, Jim Fusion Marketing. Very excited that we were able to get Kevin, and I know he's worried we weren't gonna invite him back, but Kevin, that's not how we roll. We're very excited to have you. You live in my former state of North Carolina, not too. I used to be in Swansboro on the coast. So, you know, it's a little cold right now, maybe for the beach. It got cold all of a sudden again.
It's never cold for the beach. It's like coffee. You can't ever have enough.
It
can never be too cold for the beach. Now, I ain't getting in the water, but you know, still.
Yeah. And so Kevin just spoke last night at Podfest Global and was talking about actually how to use video in your podcast, I believe.
Yeah, how to start a video podcast.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people think that's what this is to begin with, right? There's that, you get that podcast on Facebook. So it's always funny to hear people talk about that. But I kind of think that's where it's all kind of headed. I don't know what you think.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But Kevin, tell us about your business and a little bit of your background for our viewers that have not been aware of the awesomeness of Kevin Colby.
And I appreciate that. And that would probably be the majority of the world. So thank you. So my name is Kevin Colby, and my business is called Kevin Colby Media. I joke that I came up with a name that I could remember. At least two of the three names I should have a shot at. I'm a video coach, a content creator, a live streamer. It's very simple. I just like to help people get into video and do more with video so they can share their gifts and make an impact in the world. And whether it's, running a business or launching an online course or starting a YouTube channel, it's a blast. My media career, I don't know why I do this. If you're listening to the podcast, he's doing the air quotes for whatever reason that means. I started in radio and was in radio for many years as a DJ, and then had a chance to get into television and worked at almost every station in Nashville, Tennessee, because that's what you do in the business. And moved to Raleigh and was the creative director of a Fox station here for a long time. Position went away, started my own business as video marketing, and that's what I do.
That is so cool. And you've got you really like to geek out on cameras, and I know recently you changed your backdrop a little bit. I know you joined Christian and I on Launch Your Live, and we also had you on Dealcasters Live with me and Chris Stone, and that was a lot of fun. In fact, you're on Amazon Live now too, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I did a couple of lives, still trying to kind of get the footing there, because it's so different than, say, YouTube lives or other kind of lives. Totally, you have to go in remembering people are shopping, and so. But yeah, I've done a couple there, and plan on doing some more this month too. But it's cool. It's neat to be there.
Absolutely. And so today we're going to talk about, who would have thought, why video is important for your business marketing?
Yeah.
Because we've heard that that's kind of a thing that people might want to consider.
I've read that on the web somewhere. Yeah.
So Tim, would you like to start out with question number one?
Oh, here comes the grilling.
Do that. And before I grill Kevin, we just want to thank everyone who's tuning in. We appreciate you being here, no matter what time it is, no matter what country you're in, what state, village, town, outhouse, all the things. Thanks for being
some good Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I want to shout out Chris Stone, who's in the comments, as well as Stefan Kaplan. He says the Tim and Jim show, never miss it. So thank you for being here. So Kevin, are you ready for the grilling? It's gonna be a tough.
I am. I practiced all the questions last night with my wife, so we should be good. Yeah.
There you go. All right. So Kevin, why should a business get started with video for marketing anyway in the first place?
Well, it's funny that when Jim was talking about last night speaking at Podfest, and my topic was video podcasting. And, one of the things that I recently saw this stat is that video now is like the #1 favorite type of media when people are polled, the types of media, and it's video. And I'm not really surprised at that because, we carry around cameras. We're constantly looking at things. Video was already growing before the pandemic, and then it just exploded, and one of the things I brought up last night to kind of prove it is that you have podcasting software, podcasting companies like Zencaster that now they're adding video to what they offer because they realize the power of video coupled with the podcasting. So, when you start looking at podcast first companies adding a video component, and then some of them that you can even stream with, you just see that, this video thing will only continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
So Kevin, you mentioned video podcasting. What does that mean anyway?
Well, it literally is just taking the power of video and the power of podcasting and creating what I kind of look at it as, you're creating once for twice the impact. So if you're doing like this interview show right now could easily be a podcast as well. And so imagine, repurposing is a thing too, but just imagine, you take and you're adding video to the podcast. And I do want to clarify one thing. And I said this last night, is that there are programs out there where you can just, it'll turn your podcast into a video. And all it's doing is adding a graphic and kind of a little wave thing. And I know people use those, and that's cool if that's what you want to do. To me, that's not real video. That's just an animated graphic. This is video where people can see you. We love faces. We love to see eyes and people's reaction and stuff like that. So that's all a video podcast is. And it can take a lot of different forms. Joe Rogan is a video podcast. In fact, if you look at it on YouTube, it actually says the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, but it's, it'll be a 2.5 hour episode of him just talking to somebody.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it is fascinating because I got to watch your talk yesterday, right? It's like they're literally sitting across the table.
Yeah.
Just talking.
Yeah.
And this is a crazy, here's my sports thing for you today, Tim, because I did listen to what Kevin was saying.
Thank you.
41 million people have watched the Joe Rogan Experience on YouTube. Or actually, it was one episode with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
96 million people watched the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl probably won't get a lot more views because that's kind of the way the networks work.
Yeah.
But people will continue to go back and watch the Joe Rogan and Elon Musk interview.
Yeah. And I use that as an example because I think people think, who's going to watch a podcast? Who's going to watch an interview? Well, and you could say, well, Joe Rogan's got a huge following and Elon Musk has a huge following, but still 2.5 hours of them just talking. There's no fancy graphics. There's no really sick, cool opening like you have. It just kind of starts. And, they already have almost half the viewers that the Super Bowl have. That's amazing to me.
Yeah. And I think, that's where I believe if you're a business and you're kind of like, why wait? I think there's a lot of people that can help you get started. We go to networking events and talk about our business to other people.
Yeah.
So why not just talk to the camera?
Oh yeah.
And talk about your business. And I think that's the beauty of what we're doing, right? We get to have a live conversation. We get to interact with Rose and Manuja and Stefan and Chris and all the folks that are watching. I mean, that's what I think. That's why I like it maybe better than recorded. But you do both, Kevin, I think, right?
I do both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like both. I mean, there's something about, so I literally took the week off between Christmas and New Year's, and, which is harder to do when you work for yourself and run your own business. And we didn't travel this year because of, the virus thing. And so my wife said, you are going to take off, right? And just kind of chill. And I'm like, yeah. And it got to be middle of the week, and I'm like, I got to go do a video. She goes, I know, just go. And then I was like, well, I'm up here, might as well do a live stream while I'm at it. And there's something exciting about doing both forms, and you can take live streams and repurpose them as produced videos. But yeah, it's just, it's a blast. It's a rush, especially to put it out there, and when people engage with it and react to it and use it and maybe make money off of it and things like that. It's just, there's no, I mean, I love radio. It's my first love. And, and blogging is cool and things like that. But there's just nothing that compares to video.
Right. Absolutely. So, Kevin, what do you think keeps businesses from getting started with video?
I think it's a lot of things. I think, Tim, if I can call you Tim, I think it's a lot of things. I think it's the fear of messing up. It's the fear of not getting it right, not getting the right thing. And that happens a lot, which you guys probably see in just the creative circle. I mean, people are just so afraid they're going to buy the wrong camera. They're going to get the wrong mic. They're going to get, so they always want to know what's the best one I can get. And by the way, here's a hint, there isn't one, So I think it's the fear of doing. I think it's also the misconception that it's expensive. And so they're thinking, well, it's just got to be crazy expensive. I could never afford that, and there's some businesses that feel like they're just doing fine. They don't need it. But I think, when you couple in the fear of just not knowing what they're going to do, so they don't possibly know how to start, to they assume it's expensive. And then I also think there's businesses that just see it as a commodity. I had somebody reach out to me the other day, and they wanted to produce a series of, quote, professional videos. And, but then went on to say, but I'm not going to pay corporate rates. And as we were talking, and I finally got them to say a number, it was just, I don't want to say laughable, because I'm not making fun of them, but it was just, you could tell that they didn't put any importance on video. It just became a commodity. They wanted something amazing for just nothing. But they already had their mind made up that whatever I was going to quote them, it was going to be more than they could pay. And I think that becomes a stumbling block to people getting in it. I don't know what I need, and I don't know where to put it. I don't know what to say, and it's going to cost a lot, so I just won't do it. Or I can't do it as well as you guys can, so I just won't do it.
Right. Well, and I think, right, it goes back to, until you start doing it, you're not realizing what it can lead to, right? You can educate your audience. You can repurpose it and be using that across your social channels. And it's not like you have to do a video every day.
No, you don't. You don't. I mean, and that's the beauty of platforms like YouTube. I mean, it's evergreen. I mean, I did a video in 2018 reviewing sunglasses, right? And 6 months ago, a guy commented on it, actually critiqued it for me, and a way to make it better. And so I thanked him. And then and keep in mind, this was in 2020. He's critiquing a video I did in 2018. And then he apologized. He said, well, I hope you don't mind. I'm like, feedback has no expiration date. And then just a month ago, a guy comments getting onto that guy for how dare he tell me how to do video. And then he says, and by the way, I liked your video and I bought a pair of those sunglasses. Now, I mean, that's just one little thing in the micro, but think about that in a video that I published in 2018 on sunglasses.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So that's the power of YouTube. That's the power of video, of search, of things that can go on and on. So you apply that to a business, where like Roger Wakefield, you know, we know Roger, he's probably the most viewed, subscribed to plumber on YouTube. And if you ask Roger, what do you do? He goes, I'm a plumber, you know, but he helps people with their plumbing issues on there. And he's highly successful. He's highly good at what he does, but those videos will live forever because people always need to figure out how to stop their, you know, their toilet from running or something like that. And his videos will pop up. And if businesses think about that, it's like, oh yeah. Solving problems can immediately get you a little bit more respect, a little bit more notice when people are thinking, here's a business I need to work with.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, Tim, I know when we first met, you were doing videos for some of the businesses in your area.
Yes.
What did you find as one of the challenges of getting them to do video? And was most of it recorded as opposed to live?
It was actually mostly live. I worked with and I still work with a septic company. We're doing recorded videos now, but also local events. We've done some live streaming with them. But in terms of like challenges and, you know, like getting them past roadblocks, I think the biggest thing, especially with live video, is they're just afraid that it's going to break. The internet's not going to work. You know, what happens if there's a tech issue? Getting them past that fear, I think, is one of the biggest ones. Do you see that also, Kevin?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And what I tell people is like, well, they're like, oh, you know, I could never go live because I'm afraid something will happen. It's like, it's going to happen. I mean, yes. it's live, but I think it's how you react. Look, I've had, if you can name it, I've had it happen. I'll share an example, and hopefully this will be inspiring for somebody because they'll think, well, if Kevin survived it. So I used to do a video podcast show with a buddy of mine named Bill Jordan called Two Guys Talking About. And we did 3 seasons. We did it on Facebook and YouTube. And the first season or the second season, we decided to go live with it. He's an old radio guy. So, you know, we were using StreamYard. So we decided to test it the week before the premiere, just to see, you know, he's in a different city, if it's working, you know, and, you know, we're chatting and I'm taking selfies and, you know, and we're laughing. And all of a sudden somebody goes, hey guys. And I'm like, oh, we're live. And we had been live for like 10 minutes. I mean, thankfully we were, you know, we're both clean guys, but thankfully we hadn't said anything about anybody. And for the longest time, it remained our highest engaged show. Because there was something real to it. I do think you can have plans in place. You know, I'm actually a positive realist. I don't know what that would be, a positivist. But at the same time, you know, there's some things you can do. Like my camera, I've got attached to a power supply. So it has full power. It shouldn't go out, but it could. If it does, I can switch to a different camera. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's that fear of not knowing what to do, and you roll with it. And I think it can actually make you more endearing. Endearing? Is it endearing?
Endearing.
I think that sounds right.
Or enduring, depending on
the situation
I am on people. Yeah. So that's a different show.
So Marissa Kelly has a question. She's like, is there such a thing as this video topic doesn't make sense?
I would guess so. If I understand the question, I mean, because the question doesn't make any sense. No, I'm just joking. Just going with the flow of the question. I would say, you know, like for example, my YouTube channel is all about, you know, making video, creating video, editing, shooting, live streaming. So all of a sudden, if I decide I want to do a topic on, hey, how to bake a cake, which would really suck, by the way, but if I did that, that topic probably wouldn't make any sense. So from a business perspective, if you are a coffee shop, I love coffee shops. If you're a coffee shop and all of a sudden you want to do a video about, you know, a 10K run or something like that, yeah, that topic may not make sense if that's kind of where you were going that. As opposed to if you're an entertainment show, I mean, you know, now Bill and I had a couple of things that we said we would never get into on our show. We would never get into politics, and we'd never talk about faith-based things, even though we're both Christians. We just decided, let's not go there. But we talked about everything from movies to books to everything. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. And then she's like, what if you like baking cakes as a hobby? I mean, I guess, and I think they talked about this in the Tube Sherpa group, right? It's kind of like if it's a YouTube channel, YouTube kind of wants you to stay on topic and create a new channel.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Marissa, you can do whatever you want on a channel or even as a business. But if you don't know really who the audience is and it's all over the place, and that's what my YouTube channel, before my YouTube channel started growing some, I was all over the place. And yet, you always wonder why your channel's not growing. It's like, well, you did this last week and you're doing this week. And I don't know what to get when I tune in. So I think it all is about your audience and what you bring to the table. I mean, I like to go into it thinking that the world doesn't know who I am. Every video is the first chance, is the first time somebody sees me, or for every live, it's the first time they meet me. And so that may be the only encounter I have with them. So if I do a baking the cake thing and they're like, dang, he doesn't know how to bake, but I'm going to watch that. And then the next week I'm like, hey, here's how to edit on Final Cut. They're like, so I think that's what you have to do. Again, if it's a variety channel, you might could get away with it, but
right. Yeah, and I think it's
now I'm hungry for cake, by the way. Thanks, Marissa.
Thanks, Marissa, for making
thanks a lot, Marissa.
But while we're thinking about cake, we're going to take a quick break, and or I don't know, call break, a quick moment from our sponsor StreamYard, and we'll be right back in just a few seconds. And then we got the Tim gif. Always having fun on this show.
That was nice.
Yes. That was also done by Chris Stone. So thank you, Chris.
Yes. And we are back. We are back here on another episode of the Tim and Jim Show with Kevin Colby. We're talking all about how to use and why to use video for marketing your business. So thanks again for being here, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me and rescheduling me. I really do appreciate that.
Oh, we appreciate you coming back. So Tim, are we ready for question number 3?
No, of course. Let's go.
Remember, I memorized them in order. Don't.
Right.
Oh, Jim, switch the order. No, Jim, Kevin, not Jim. I love you, Jim, and Kevin.
That's okay. My friends call me Jim. That's fine.
Oh, okay, Jim. Kevin, what tips would you give a business that's getting started with video marketing? How can they get started?
Well, the funny thing is, I have a bunch of different cameras for different things, but I would say use what you've got. It's easy to get caught up in all the kinds of gear you think you need. And there's a lot of content creators out there who mean well that I think push too much, when you've got to have this and this and this. This thing right here is all you need. Now, if you have an Android phone, I'll pray for you, but no, I'm just joking. If you've got a smartphone, there you go. And yours is obviously bigger than mine. But if you've got a smartphone, you have everything you need. Now, I'll even say this. If you've got like a built-in camera on a laptop, I mean, it's not the best camera, but use it. Webcam is better, but something like this, you can take with you. There's apps you can get for free for graphics, for editing. You can go live from here. I would say start with what you have and then just start documenting and start shooting and start putting it out there. I think for businesses or anybody, the worst thing I think that people can do is they practice and then they never release it. And I got to tell you, it sounds maybe silly, but that video you shot, good or bad, that sits on your camera roll or your hard drive that nobody ever sees will never, ever get any engagement at all. It's not going to make you a penny. Nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to care because you got it right here. And then I would say don't worry about perfection. I think Sean Cannell coined it. It's like, done is better than perfect. And it is. And I think from business people, we're like, oh, what? they can't see me mess up. Well, but that again, it's about being real. I would rather work with a business that I feel is real, that I can see, and video will do that. So I would say start with what you've got. Don't worry about a lot of different things. I mean, think about lighting, but you could use natural light. Think about audio. And then, if you don't even have a tripod, just set your phone on something and go for it. And then I would look at platforms. And when I say platforms like YouTube and things like that, where you can use for free that have amazing reach. It just blows my mind the number of businesses that are still not on YouTube. So that would be my advice for anybody starting out. Don't wait till you get the right camera. Start.
Yeah, and I think Diana Gladney brought up a great point. She was on here a couple months ago. Maybe it was longer. Time flies. But and even as Kevin, Doc Rock, right? They're focused on YouTube because sure, our friends and our family are on Facebook, but they don't necessarily get what we're doing. But people on YouTube are searching for that topic.
Yeah.
You're serving up the solution to their problem. And so as a business, I mean, Roger Wakefield, what a great example, right? Probably the most viewed plumber in the world. I mean, that is getting people watching his videos, and he's making money off of videos about plumbing without having to go to their house.
And you bring up a good point too about YouTube. And YouTube is my core platform. I create from there out, and I love Facebook. But YouTube is a search engine, and sometimes people forget that it is a search engine. It's the second biggest search engine in the world, number 2 to Google. Google's 1. Who owns YouTube? And I just saw a stat and it was an extremely high percentage of websites that get served up higher if they have video on their website. Now, just think about that. So somebody doesn't know you exist, and they're going to Google looking for, landscaping. Google's going to serve up websites, from what I've read, that have video on them over other websites. But then you go to YouTube and think of how you use YouTube. How to, fix my car or whatever, and that's when you can really start serving up things. I mean, I've had videos pop, just because it fits into what they're looking for. And YouTube is always going to try and find the video to fit the viewer.
Yep. I tell you, it's funny. I had no idea this was going to happen. I did about a 4-minute video a few months ago about how you can use Prezi with StreamYard. I've had 2 or 3 people contact me about it because when they search that in Google, it's the first thing that comes up. It's the number 1 searched video on that topic. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't even have a thumbnail on it.
Yeah. The funny, and I actually need to watch that too. Thanks for throwing that out there. But I had somebody message me the other day and said that he was trying to figure out how to do something, I think in Final Cut. And he Googled it and he said, and you came up. And I'm like, I did? I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And there's something there, because when you start helping people, they may want to come back for more. And then your business can get known, and then it could lead to other things other than just ad dollars. You're going to make a little on the AdSense, but you can do a lot of other ways to make money as well.
Yeah, very, very true. I mean, Tim, do you have any tips that you would give to some of these businesses that are holding back?
I mean, I love what Kevin said about just get started. So many are just afraid to hit the go live button, or even if it's a recorded video, to get started. Also, what he said about the tech, like, don't worry about, you don't have to have an incredible studio to get started, right? Yeah. I think those are really the biggest 2 things. And also perfection. I see a lot. I'm doing a live streaming course, launching a live streaming course soon. And I've run other rounds of this course before, and many people in the course are always afraid of not being perfect.
Yeah.
They're very concerned about their branding, and especially if they're more in a corporate space, right? Where they do want everything to be perfect. Those are a few thoughts. What about you, Jim?
Well, I know one of my favorite phrases around perfection is the P in perfection is poison.
Oh, I like that.
And Because the problem is, right, it's just going to hold us back. We're never going to move forward. I mean, you think about it, Tim. I don't even know what episode we're on now. It's 100 something episodes that we've done. But if we go back and look at our very first episode, which is on the Facebook page, if you want to go watch it,
don't do that.
but it's like we started out, right, very simply. We started with what we had. It wasn't like, well, Tim, we got to wait a month because I got to save up to get a DSLR camera and a Shure SM7B. No, we just went with what we had. And, I like to say, right, just try to get better 1% every time.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, I think to the point, right? I mean, that you can even now, right? There's apps, attach your iPhone or probably your Android phone to your computer as a webcam if you don't like the camera you've got built in. And these are 4K cameras. Not that you can even go 4K on Facebook to begin with.
Yeah.
So, just, kind of the, I know this might be political, but as Nike would say, just do it.
Yeah. But it's true though. I mean, it is true. I mean, I think, because when you put it out there and people see it, and there are trolls out there and haters. Thankfully, I don't think there's a ton of them, and you can block them. But I think when you start doing that and getting comfortable with it, it just makes it easier and easier and easier. I mean, it's like, the first time I drove a stick shift, it was horrible. First time I rode a bike, it was horrible. So everybody starts somehow, everybody learns at some level. And, competition is also another killer. We want to always compare ourselves to somebody. Well, I'm not as good as Peter McKinnon. Well, I'm not trying to be Peter McKinnon at all. I'd like to have some of his money. I'd like to have his truck, but I'm not trying to be Peter McKinnon. I need to be me. And everybody has their own superpower, and it really is them. They always bring something unique to it. A friend of mine used to say, "You're unique just like everybody else," but I knew what he meant. I unfriended him for that. So
that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So Kevin, what are some of your favorite tools to help businesses get started with video marketing?
Well, again, if you've got an iPhone and Android, and I don't know some of the programs on a Droid phone, but if you've never edited, Live will take care of that. And I know that's not really maybe a tool, but if you're on an iPhone and you want to learn editing, it comes with iMovie, which is free, and it is very basic, and it's gotten a lot better. I also am a huge fan of Canva. And Canva to me is perfect. I shouldn't say perfect. It's almost perfect, because it's really made for people that just want to design something. But if you're like a designer, you can also use it too. Tons of templates. There's videos on there. I mean, you can actually edit videos. I've actually gone on there and created graphics for my YouTube channel. So Canva to me, and there's a free plan and there's a paid plan, but even the paid is like, I think 120 a year, something like that. Canva is a phenomenal tool. Other than that, you mentioned using like your phone as an app. There's some apps that take a little bit more to get used to, like Filmic Pro is a fantastic app that kind of turns your iPhone into a DSLR camera. But if you haven't shot before, I think there's a little bit of learning curve. But I would try things like, iMovie. I would, and there's other programs that are free, Canva. I would also, though, try a program like StreamYard, which you can use for free. And I'm not saying that because we're on StreamYard and they're the sponsor, but StreamYard is a video platform. It is made for live streaming and it is made for recording. So you don't even have to download anything. So think about that you can use a program like StreamYard for free on your PC or Mac to create content. And that's amazing. And then there's other things and I'm a Mac guy, so I always end up talking about Mac, but QuickTime will record your screen. You don't need another program. They have built-in screen grabs in there. You don't need another program for that. There's GarageBand is free if you want to just record things. This mic, which I absolutely love, is a $70 mic.
Is that the Samson Q2U?
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
There's 3 of them right now.
We're all
Samson, are you
using it.
listening? Are you listening, Samson?
Yeah. Hello.
Shout out to Samson.
Yeah. And, and I love Rode, and most of my mics are Rode, which sounds like a country song. I realize that. But I went to this the other day, and I love it. It sounds great. I think it's like $69, and it's and you can use it as a USB, which is how I'm using it right now, or as an XLR. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But it's so those are programs I would recommend. And the reason I always talk about Canva is because you can design a logo, you can create social media graphics, you can do your YouTube thumbnails, you can touch up photos, you can create small videos. It just goes on and on and on. T-shirts, you can design T-shirts in there.
Yeah, I was amazed at some of the things, because I have Canva, but they keep adding these things. They don't always tell us, right? You can create GIFs or GIFs or whatever people want to call them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the fact that you can create videos in there as well, and they have stuff that's available, right? So
that's where I do all my presentations. The presentation I gave last night, I do it in there. It's just easy. But then, other things that you could use are just, if you're in the Google world, I mean, you can actually build a website with Google Sites. And I don't know if we talked about that, but that's something I'm a strong advocate for, is having your own website. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It can be what sometimes we call like a brochure. There I go with the air quotes again, a brochure site, but something that you own, something that has contact information, something you can build an email list from, that you can point back to. I put that up there with doing video. You need one. Don't consider social media your website. It ain't. That's rented space. It could go away tomorrow.
Very true. Very true.
What a depressing note to end on.
But no, I think that's important, Kevin. It is so important, right? Because even when you think about where you go live or when you go live, like we're multi-streaming, but if Facebook went down, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like you sometimes see when Facebook goes down, people are like pulling their hair, like, oh my gosh, I can't run my business. Well, if you're completely relying on Facebook, you really need to take a second look, right? You don't want to rely on anyone but yourself ultimately. So I think that's a great point, that you got to think about those things. So Kevin, I put down your website, and I guess you're at Kevin Colby Media just about everywhere else?
Everywhere else, yeah. On YouTube, I'm just Kevin Colby. But on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, Kevin Colby Media. And kevincolby.com, and then YouTube is just Kevin Colby.
And where do you like to hang out the most when you're on social?
I probably YouTube and Facebook are my favorites. I mean, I was on Facebook, been on Facebook for a long time. They always get those friendiversary things that they do that are kind of corny. I'm on Twitter and Instagram I like. LinkedIn I don't do much with anymore, but my core platform I'm on, that I'm creating for, that I'm growing, that I'm trying to use to help people, is YouTube, but then Facebook would be the other one.
Right. Yeah. So make sure, folks, if you haven't, definitely go subscribe to Kevin's channel. He puts a lot of amazing content out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Someday when Tim and I grow up, maybe we'll be like Kevin in our own way, right?
Maybe we don't want to be beard, Kevin. Yeah. No, nobody. Trust me, you don't want to be me. No. Shoot higher.
So Tim, do you want to let our folks know about our guest for next week?
I have no idea who our guest is for next week. Oh, yes, Brigetti. Yes, super excited to have Brigetti on the show. Next week's episode of the Tim and Jim Show, she's also a live streamer. I believe she's in South Africa.
Yes, it will be a little late for her, but not too late. But yes, that'll be fun. I know I think she does a lot with book writers, from what I remember.
She recently invited me to a Facebook group that had to do with writing and editing. And Rose said, "Hi, Tim and Jim, lots of good tips. Great to be a guest last week on the show. So thank you for being here, Rose." Katie Simpson says, "Good evening, guys." So thank you for being here, Katie. Marissa is saying she likes wave.video. Manuha is saying DaVinci for editing ? So thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been a a fun show, and I always look forward to it, especially now that I'm with the kiddos all day on Zoom dad duty. Any adult contact, even through
now
a
more
screen, is welcome. Now more than ever. You got it, Jim.
Kevin, thanks again so much for joining us. So glad that you were able to be here, and maybe we can have you back again someday, and we'll dive into some other stuff, because I know we've talked before, right? You could geek out with us about cameras when people are ready to go to that next step, and yeah, I know. I think Chris Stone has mentioned your Final Cut Pro videos. I need to look at that, because I actually have that now. I just, I guess I'm at like the beginner stage, because Chris,
you start somewhere. Yeah,
that's
Final
right.
Cut Pro is just a fantastic program.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, everyone. Tim, I hope that the kids behave for the rest of the week.
Yes.
Kevin, thank you again so much. So glad to have you here.
Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much.
Take care, everyone.
See y'all.